You know, I have a lot of projects that are kind of piling up, but one of the biggest, most annoying things that I have to do is this monstrosity of a mining rig setup. Now I actually have something that, I don't want to scratch anything. This is just a big old piece of like steel, actually. I thought it was maybe going to be aluminum, but it's a big old piece of steel that I want to make a custom fan thing with. Now this is the original glass piece that goes on the side right there, but what I want to do is trace out where the holes are going to be and then trace out some new holes. The idea is that this is going to be taking place of the glass panel. All I need to do is set it down, try not to scratch the glass because I don't want to ruin this little piece, and mark out every hole on the side as close as possible. So use a little metallic magic marker here. And what I'm also going to do is mark some of these sides that could use a little bit of grinding down. And then voila. So now I know exactly where these holes have to go. They're, circle-ish, but that basically are these mounting holes right here, so they don't have to be exactly perfect. Now this is where I really have to say thank you very much, Be Quiet, for sponsoring this video, because I told them my crazy idea. I said I want to add a bunch of fans. They got to be fast-ish, but still quiet, and I'm going to make a custom fan plate, right? Not only did they send me this case, this Dark Base Pro case, but they also sent me a big beefy 1600 watt power supply to run all the GPUs that I could possibly shove in this damn thing. So thank you very much, Be Quiet, for supporting me. Now let's show what I'm going to do with these. Now these are only 1600 RPM, but they are PWM, made by Be Quiet Silent Wings 3. Now each one of these fans comes with a different couple mounting options, right? A couple different things, but what I'm going to use is just this. So that means for every fan that I want to install, not only do I have to cut a hole for it, that works really well with this, but also have to cut a little area to drill into. So using the marker, putting the fans on there, I kind of have an outline for each fan, just like that, where the hole has to be. These are obviously really close, so that's going to be a tight fit. But yeah, now I just have to cut holes in this, which I think it is aluminum. Now, specifically for this project, I bought a 140 millimeter circular saw. So this is going to allow me, hopefully, to cut a perfect circle, 6 perfect circles to be exact, and make these fans mountable. So what I'm gonna do is I'm not gonna use the little center, you can see right there, it came with the drill. I'm not gonna use the center drill. That way I can try to line this thing up and try not to veer too far off course. And try, and try to make this straight. There's absolutely no way in hell that is going to work like that. Okay, that is not good for the old drill there. That thing is smoking. After further consideration, I've decided, since I've already gotten this started, I'm going to use an impact socket and then an impact drill. So I'll flip this on low, built for torque. Hopefully this shouldn't have a problem, should eat right through it. And I reconsidered shoes because I was walking around in socks and metal was getting everywhere. So, that was kind of obvious, but I'm a slow learner. Ooh, maybe I can tape around it. Perfect. That didn't work. Okay, I literally do not have a tool big enough to fit this, and the impact wrench is not doing me any good. So I'm gonna continue on with this. I'm gonna keep it on the slow side, and I guess if I fry this drill, I fry the drill. One down, 5 invisible left to go. I don't think I'm gonna make it through 6 holes. Okay, so I've made it 2 holes deep, right? Not showing all of it because honestly, I have no idea what I'm doing, but this saw, I think, is already warped a little bit, and this drill is really, really warm, and it started smoking twice. Okay, so I made about 3.5 holes, and that thing started smoking for a 3rd time and just a little bit worse. So I put tape on it because the clutch kept disengaging and going back to level 15 or whatever, and then it would, you know, not go through. So basically, I'm gonna put this down for a night. I'm gonna pick it up tomorrow, let that thing kind of cool down. Hopefully I don't fry it tomorrow, and I'm just kind of hoping that I make it through all 6 holes, because that thing's been through a lot, and I don't mind replacing it, but I don't want to have to wait to get that before I replace it. So let's fast forward a little bit, because I've been working at this forever. I've essentially fried a drill. It still works, kind of, but I went to Home Depot and got a real drill. This is a plug-in drill, a lot better, hopefully suited for the job. I mean, it feels like it's better suited for the job. So yeah, that's how far I've made it. Surprisingly, I made it that far, but hopefully this is gonna make it a lot easier. Hey, there we go. Okay, now I have all the holes drilled. Right, that drill was overheating, but it made it, and it was a lot easier, and it has power, totally worth it. Now that I have all the big holes drilled, I drilled the small ones, and now I'm gonna take it downstairs, I'm gonna do a fit test, and I'm gonna see if it fits. So fast forward a little bit, I actually ended up finishing cutting holes, hanging it up, because it was raining. I did it kind of in the garage, and painting it. However, last night after I painted it, I was laying in bed thinking, I forgot to drill holes for the fans, because you have to mount the fans. So, you know, not that big of a deal, I guess, but it would have been nice to not forget that. Not, you know, the best paint job, obviously, but it'll get the job done. It's better than just being, you know, regular metal, aluminum looking, shiny and whatever. So as you can see, there's a little bit of runoff right there, right? Not sanded down to be completely smooth. I mean, just basic. Just whatever. And this is what it's gonna look like. Basically everything's fit on here. I got the screws and everything. It could definitely, now that I'm like down here in the light, it could definitely use a second layer of black, but I do not feel like waiting for another layer to dry. So I'm just gonna send it, you know what I mean? So far I like it. I do need to bend it a little bit so it creates a little seal over here and tries to push as much air as possible. I'm really not looking for the same performance I'm getting right now with a really super big fan. I'm just looking to find a good balance between noise and hash rate for this little mining rig. Definitely not perfect, but what I did was lay everything down, right? Take a drill and just basically mark a drill spot in each one. So as you can see, I got a little spot to drill, so I'm gonna take this upstairs in the garage. I'm gonna drill all those holes. Now this fit just perfectly, so I'm actually gonna go up 2 sizes. That way, if all goes well, these things will go on the inside and then screw into the rubber right there. Look at that. Now I thought about drilling holes for wires, but these holes are actually bigger, so I'm gonna see if I can just run it through the cracks, which sucks, which means I don't have as good as an air seal as I wish I would have, but why drill more holes when you can just use the existing ones? Plus the fans, the headers are like this big, so it'll be like a super big hole. So I want to avoid that. Or counterpoint, I could put the fans on the inside. which would really make way more sense. And after taking a look at it, if you can see right here, this is the bottom. I think I'm actually gonna, yeah, I don't know. This is probably possibly gonna get taken out, but the fan won't fit down here on the inside, and it won't fit up here on the inside because it's just too close. So it looks like they're probably gonna be outside of the case. I am in the process of building out this computer, and so far everything's looking pretty good, pretty straightforward. You put the motherboard in, you plug everything in. The only thing was trying to fit, you know, a 3090, a 1080, and an RTX 4000. Now, I originally considered doing a 3090, a 2080, and a 1080 Ti, and then just having the RTX 4000 in my work computer, and then just kind of deal with that until all of the things crashed. But so far, with what I have in here, everything seems to work and fit. At least all. What are you doing? Stop scratching. Stop scratching. Don't scratch. Don't scratch. I think I should have enough airflow, but there's no guarantee. If anything, I can run things on like medium settings. That way it's a balance. It's noise to hash rate ratio. Like how loud do I want it versus how loud or how much money do I want to make? So in the end, if I want to like leave the house for a week or put it in a different room or something like that, I can take off the whole front cover and just put a big old blower fan on it. But if I want it running 24/7 in the corner here, just being somewhat quiet and not super like obnoxiously loud, that's where this balance is coming in. And that's where I'm hoping this Be Quiet case with all these Be Quiet fans are going to come into play, where I will be able to hopefully have a somewhat quiet mining rig that has some pretty decent hardware in it and be able to make me some money every day. And then I thought of something. Over there you see 4 hard drives. Now, these are literally just hard drives sitting around. Like one of them I was using for decoration. The other 3 are just 8 terabyte drives that I don't have any use for because Unraid is all packed with 10s and 12s. So I thought to myself, well, with the Chia thing coming on, I don't know anything about Chia, but I have random SSDs sitting around. I have at least 4 spare hard drives that I could plug into this thing. And I did a little test fit and they should fit just fine. Plus, they got a fan right on them that's pulling air out, and 6 fans are just going to be pushing air in. So they should be able to keep pretty cool, and maybe, potentially, I have no idea, this might allow me to dip my toes in the pool of this whole Chia mining sensation that's going on, which I honestly don't know a whole bunch about, but I want to try it out. The calculators online, the shortages of hard drives, like, it may or may not make me any money, but people are going to go out and make like literal shortages of hard drives for no reason. So if I have the hard drives and the SSDs literally just sitting on a table somewhere, like I have to find them, but I know I have them, why not try to make some money off of them? So I got everything built and I just kind of I started to run into issues while I was building basically this fan and everything like that, where my workbench, you can see right there, while everything was sitting on the workbench, the whole system kept powering off and I couldn't figure out why. Plenty of cooling, plenty of power, like it just powered off. None of the temperatures were out of control. So after I got everything built, I actually threw the motherboard, the graphics cards, I threw everything into this thing. It did exactly the same thing. So now I've spent hours, basically, because the turnoff was random, I spent hours just removing different cards. And I think there's something wrong with my 1080, which is weird, but, you know, I have been running it for a couple months now. So, you know, whatever. So 108 after a 2.5 hour stress test. Now, I bought some of these. These are lower profile heat sinks, right? They have conductive adhesive tape on one side, which means I'm gonna put these on there. I bought these for a test. They were like $5 or $6 or $10. I don't know. They were cheap. So now I'm gonna put them on top of it and see what happens. However, to get 2 of these to fit underneath the CPU, I need to grind them down. Thankfully, I has grinder. Exhibit A, since I had to move this up just because of fitment reasons, that will not fit underneath that. But the newly grinded ones will also not fit underneath that. So that means I gotta grind it more. Perfect. Little jank, but hey, heat sinks are heat sinks. About an hour, dropped it to 104 degrees. Just with those little heat sinks that I added in there. So not too bad. I just got to figure out the 1080 Ti thing. I don't really know what's up with that. So it doesn't do nearly as well as my RTX does. Wait, why is that like that? Why is that like that? That shouldn't be like that. That's really bad. It doesn't do nearly as well as my RTX 4000. So I'm not really too worried about it right now, but yeah, coming along pretty good. Do you ever do something with a PC build that goes against everything you know, or at least what you think you know about PC building, and you still do it because the numbers prove that it works? Well, that's this build. So I was having issues with my 1080 Ti, right? It was shutting down the entire system. I thought maybe it was something to do with heat or something weird like that, but turns out that was on me. It was actually my fault, I think. This is my assumption, but I fixed the heat. It still turned off, and then I realized I kind of messed up the power. You see, even though I went through this and I hooked up all these fans, I got a bunch of fans, I'll show you all this in a second. Even though I did all that, the temperatures dropped, but the 1080 Ti would still cause the system to fault and shut down. So in terms of reliability, obviously I can't have it shut down all the time, so that was a big deal. And what I ended up doing, or realizing after kind of taking all the power cables out and putting it all back in, is that I was actually mixing the power cables. I'd had that little tiny add-on power cable, and I was having it crossed, basically. I had the 6 pins on one, the 2 pins on another, and because they were drawing different amounts of power, it was just setting the system off and basically just making it derp out. So that's probably what my problem was from the get-go when it comes to the system powering down. But now, back to the whole doing things that you know you're not supposed to. I've ran a lot of numbers, a lot of tests, and here's what I come up with. Now, before I shut this down, I was able to get down to 100 degrees, the RAM temperature, the GPU junction RAM, that's on the actual 3090. This is the biggest hotspot. The biggest problem with the system was getting that temperature down as low as possible while still having the case and just these fans running. I'm okay with the 100 degrees. It was when it was at 106, 104, even 110 degrees that it was too much. But now I have this system stable. It's under control. It's sitting at 100 degrees. Like, yes, it peaked to 106, looks like, but 100 degrees is where it sits. Bear in mind, if I wanted to, tone this down a little bit, I could obviously bring down those temperatures more for a little bit more, let's not kill your GPU thing. But that's really not the point of this. Right now, the graphics card that I purchased, the 3090, has paid for itself. So now it's just all icing on the cake. I guess just keep going. So let me show you what all I've done. I guess if I'm gonna do this live, this case, this Dark Base 900 Pro, this thing has a little thing that I have a lot of the case fans connected to. It's a switch, so I can lower down some of the fan noise. It just lowers the RPM on a lot of the fans. So I'm gonna do that just to not be as loud. Now, when I was in talks with Be Quiet, they said they would send me this, right? So I can quiet up my build. And then I told them, I was like, I need more fans. A little bit of pill porn for you here. So they sent me 6 additional fans, along with, these already came with the case. This one came with the case, but I ended up using 2 spare fans. I didn't have another 140 Noctua fan, but I still wanted a fan up there. So right here, I installed these heat fans, which did help me, but I needed airflow on them. So I wanted to get air pulling down, which is counterproductive when it comes to heat rising and then pushing it back down. I understand that. But I have these fans pulling air in, I have these fans pulling air down, and I have these fans over here pulling air into the case. So all of that airflow gets directed out the back here. So basically, I have this like furnace of airflow all coming out the back, all going over the top of the GPUs and being expelled at the back. It took a little bit because originally I was just letting the fans on the top just push it out of the case. But that was messing up my airflow and it wasn't giving me the right heat dissipation for these fans. These fans need airflow. So pushing the air back down actually helped out a lot. Which, hey, I know that's bad, but hey, if it looks dumb but it works, is it still dumb? Probably, but it works. Also, a nice little tidbit here. If you're working on airflow and pressure and all that, you have to close up the back. Okay, funny story. I may or may not have been like, what the heck is going on, for a few minutes before I realized I forgot to put the back on, which seals everything up, which also drastically makes this build a lot quieter, except from the furnace coming out the back, but you know, that's to be expected. So once I have that like custom made side panel with 6 fans on the side, and I have everything put together, everything's running full speed, it is 10 times quieter than the setup I had before, which was literally pointing a fan at that. Before, since this is all downstairs, and I want to put it right there eventually, since this is all downstairs, I would have to basically turn off the fan, turn off the mining while I was watching a movie. But now, because it's so quiet, because most of this is encased with the case, like internally, even though I have these large holes here on the side, now since it's so quiet, I can enjoy a movie without having to worry about the constant, just crazy sound coming out of this fan. Also, side story here, I was going to explore the possibility of some Chia mining, but I've decided to hold off on that because when I had the hard drives in here, basically they're blocking the fans, and I noticed a increase in temperature. So one would think that these cables here would, you know, change it, but I don't think it does. I haven't tested it yet, but still, I really don't think I'm gonna fix this mess right here. I mean, after all, this is not a show build. This is an ATM. That's all it is. I'm gonna be swapping stuff out. Eventually, I want this 3090 in my real gaming PC or workstation PC, and I'm gonna probably throw the 2080 Ti in here down the line. I just got to get to that point where I'm tearing apart my main computer before I can do that. But it doesn't have to be pretty. All it has to do is make me money. That's it. But having all of these hard drives in there did drastically reduce the airflow. It did increase the temperatures. And once I took them out and just went solo, just GPU, no hard drives, anything like that, everything worked fine. So later on, I'm gonna look at something for that. I don't know yet, something. I wanna try Chia. But for right now, this thing is already making me good money every month. The best part about mining right now is the volatility of the market, right? Everyone knows the market recently crashed. However, I use NiceHash and they mine the most profitable coin, I guess. It's just rinse it out. It's kind of a, you know, just rent your computer type of situation with NiceHash, and it makes everything really easy. Of course, with easy, obviously, comes a decrease in profitability. However, during this entire crash, even with the fall of Bitcoin pricing and all that other stuff, like I'm still making decent money. I'm making like $150 a week, which is like $6,000 to $8,000 a year. And that's gonna fluctuate all the time. I mean, you gotta think about it on a monthly basis. If you're making an extra $400 to $500 a month, you know, just by running your computer, like that's hard to really pass up. And as an added bonus, that means that I will eventually have a 3090 in my workstation PC, probably sooner rather than later, just because, you know, workstation, I use a lot of Adobe products. I use a lot of production stuff. So, you know, I do definitely want the biggest, baddest GPU in my house available for my editing needs, you know. So yes, this is a pretty showcase build, but in reality, I really just kind of wanted a 3090. For right now, this computer has much better airflow than my main computer does. And that's one thing the 3090 needs. It needs really, really good airflow. So I will have to figure out my airflow situation on my main computer. Since it is a water-cooled build, it's not really, it doesn't have high airflow. It has some airflow, but it doesn't have high airflow. I mean, I literally took the glass panel off of that, replaced it with a piece of metal, and cut 6 holes in it to add 6 additional fans for direct airflow onto the 3090 in order to cool it. So if I move that 3090 to my other system, I will have to either A, drastically reduce the hash rate in order to keep the temperatures down, or B, I will have to add fans, somehow redirect airflow, something like that, just to keep up with it. But I'll still probably have to lower it down because it's not on right now. If this thing's gonna get to 106 degrees peak and then stay at about 100 degrees, this looks like the average is 98, but it was 100 degrees earlier. If it's gonna be at that, with the workload that it's on right now, the hash rate it's on right now, which is about 116 mega hash because I did drop it just a little bit, then imagine what it'll be when it doesn't have all these fans. So if I haven't said it already, big shout out to Be Quiet. Thank you guys very much. Thank you very much for sending me the case and a 1500 watt power supply that could handle a 3090, a 1080, and an RTX 4000 without skipping a beat. I kind of screwed up the power cables, but now that that's fixed, it runs perfect. In this case, this Dark Base 900 Rev 2, this thing is just quiet. Yes, I cut a big old hole in the side, but it's quiet. Don't mind me while I put the world's crappiest keyboard and mouse on this. After all, I won't need to use it that often, so these are all just really old things that I have. I'm even gonna use like that portable monitor because I don't want to use a real monitor because I don't need it. You know what? I take that back. I have a spare 1080p monitor that has an HDMI port, so all I gotta do is just reattach it and then boom, I can finally use this again. You know, it kind of feels weird having a build that I didn't put extra RGB in. I'm just saying, it's weird. Looks okay though. So now that I have finished creating my own semi-silent personal ATM, the next step is my next project actually. It's gonna be this 3D printer that's been sitting here for a very long time. And I'm going to use that, because I haven't put that back together, I'm going to use that to print fan plates. Just in case I accidentally touch that, which would really suck. Actually, let's see. Ow, okay, yeah, don't do that. So I'm gonna print fan plates, all 6 of them, put them over that, so that should look better. I don't know what color, probably black. And there we go, it's all up and running, very basic, connected to Wi-Fi, because I don't wanna run Ethernet yet, or I haven't done it yet, so boom, ATM. I'm more than aware that this video will probably trigger a few people because everyone's trying to get GPUs, but hope is in sight because Bitcoin and everything crashed. You know, hopefully GPUs will start going back on the market, because right now, if this thing is going to be making me, I think I'll overlay it, but it changes all the time. But let's say if it's making $600, $700, $800 a month, maybe $500 a month, my electricity cost for this, since I've been running it, because I've been doing it for a couple months, yes, this video has been in the process for a long time, it's about $100 to $140 more per month in electricity. So, you know, if I'm making $400 or $500 a month, that's still $300 or $400 in profit. So overall, that's not terrible. It's not optimal because I was making like $800 to $900 a month before everything crashed. So, you know, I'm just kind of hoping everything goes back to normal. Well, guys, if you have any questions or want to check out this awesome case sent to me by Be Quiet, check out the links in the description down below. As always, if you have any questions, comments, or recommendations, leave those in the comment sections. Thank you for watching, like and subscribe, and have yourself a good day.